Hi class, welcome to math. Today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to go on a field trip. So come on guys, let's go out. Look at all these weird people over here. Let's go out the back door on a field trip. Everybody follow me. Alright, so we'll follow this path. Tra-la-la-la-la. And hey, let's look over here. There's a strange structure built out of blocks. Let's check it out. So it looks like, if we look closely at it, the length is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blocks. So it's 7 blocks long. And we look at how wide it is, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's 6 on this way and 7 on that way. So the length is 7, the width is 6, but because it's three-dimensional now we have to look at the height. So it's 1, 2, 3. So now we know that the height is 3, so the dimensions are 3 by 7 by 6. So to find the volume, how many blocks would fit inside this whole thing, it will be 6 times 7 times 3. And oh look, here's a sign. The length is 7, the width is 6, height is 3. And if we multiply 7 times 6 times 3, we get 126. So the volume of this shape is 126. That's how many blocks would fit in were I to fill it all up and count all the blocks. Alright, so now let's come over here and build another shape. Just for practice, we'll do another one. So I'm going to build a shape here, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And then I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. Oh, and that's 4 too. It's 4 by 4. Let's add one more here. So
it's 5. 1, 2, 3. And we'll come across this way. 1, 2, 3. We can fill it in. We don't have to, but we will. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
So here we have this shape now, and I can see that it is 1, 2, 3, 4 by, now look, this number 4 I just counted, I'm going to count it again for the length. So the width was 4, the length is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if it's 4 by 5, what is this the area of this shape? 4 times 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 times 1, 2, 3, 4 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 times 5 is 20, right? So the area of this is 20. So one thing we can do is we can call this the base. So if this is going to be like the first floor of a building, we'd say the base of this building has an area of 20. And now let's add on a second floor to the building. Ready? Here we go. Oops. All right, so now we have the same size, but now there's 2 floors. So if we knew the first floor was 20, with 2 floors, it's going to be 20 plus 20, which is 40. Let's add another one. All right, so now we have this box here, and we know that each layer, or the base layer, is 20, and we can just count how many layers are there. Well, the height is 1, 2, 3. So the height is 3, and we know the base of the area, the whole bottom floor, is 20, so 3 times 20 is 60. You got it? So that's another way to find volume. We could do length, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 20. So 5 times 4 is 20 times 1, 2, 3 is 60. Or we could just find out the area of the whole base, the bottom floor of the building, which is 20, and multiply that times 3, and you get area that way. I mean, you get volume that way. Got it? That's the basics of volume. All right, so let's put a sign here so we know exactly how big it is. That'll be fun. So we're going to put a sign right here, and the sign will say that this shape is 4 by 5 by 3, which equals 60. Great. So let's have a challenge. We're going to try to build another shape that also has a volume of 60 but looks different. So let's see how we can do that. Ready, go.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2,
All right, cool. So now we have this shape, which if I look here, let's see if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The length is 6, the width is 2. 6 times 2 is 12. And how tall is it? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 6 times 2 is 12. 12 times 5 is 60. So now let's make a sign here. So this is going to be 6 times 2 times 5 equals 60. So as we can see, these two shapes, they look very different from each other, but they have the same volume. They have the same number of blocks, because as long as you multiply length times width times height, you get the volume. Excellent. And on this one as well, we could have just said, find the base, which is going to be 2 times 6, which is 12. And so then you just do base times height, and the height is 5. 12 times 5 is also 60. Got it? Great. All right, let's head back to the classroom for the rest of our lesson. All right, here we are in our classroom, and there's people standing on the desks. And look at all these people waiting to get in. Oh, I'm so glad you're waiting in line outside. All right, let's go watch the video and see what our lesson is for today. Hi, everybody, and welcome to finding the volume of rectangular prisms. This beautiful box here is called a rectangular prism because it is a rectangle and it's in 3 dimensions, so it's a rectangular prism. So again, as you saw in Minecraft, to find the volume of a rectangular prism, you do length times width times height. So what is the volume of this shape, this rectangular prism, in cubic inches? You're going to multiply all 3 numbers. Ready, go. All right, so what you should have done is 8 times 10 is 80, and 80 times 4 is, it's not clicking, is 320 inches. So you have 8 times 10 times 4 equals 320 inches. And notice the little 3 here, it's cubed, because these are all cubic inches. Even though this is a rectangle, whenever you're doing something in 3 dimensions, in volume, it is always in cubic inches. So you got to put a little 3 up there. All right, let's try another one that's sort of like this. Oh, look at this. Here we have a building. Let's fill this building with popcorn. How many cubic feet of popcorn will fit? All right, so you have the dimensions written up there. Ready, go. All right, so now it's interesting this is called a cube because the volume of this would be 40 cubed, right? Which is just 40 times 40 times 40. So we know that 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 4 is 64. So it'd be 64, and then how many zeros? 1, 2, 3 zeros. So your answer should be 64,000. That's a big number. Okay, let's try one that's a little bit different and maybe a little bit harder, but maybe not. And that is, the volume of this shape is 256 inches. What is the value of A? So this is where they're giving you the volume. It's 256, and you have to find the missing dimension. So we know the length is 8, the width is 8. What is the height, A, going to be? So the way we do this is, you have the volume, you have our formula, right? V equals length times width times height. That's the formula we've been working with. And so we just write out that formula. So we know the volume is 256, so V is 256. And then length and width are both 8. So 8 times A equals 256, which means now we have 256 equals 64A. We have that because 8 times 8 is 64. So now, how do you solve this? You want A by itself. So how do you get A by itself? You divide 64 there, and see if you can figure out the answer. Ready, go. Okay, so if you got it, you should have figured out that A, you divide both sides by 64, A equals 4. 4 equals A, or A equals 4. Got it? Cool. All right, let's go look at a couple examples in the book. Okay, so we are in the book on page 741. I'll just write it right here, page 741 in the book. And let's try A and B. These should be pretty easy. So A is a cube, and notice every dimension, every measurement is 5 inches. So that's why we would call this 5 cubed. So you do letter A, ready, go. All right, so you should have had that this is going to be 5 times 5 times 5. And so 5 times 5 is 25. 25 times 5 is 125. So we would write 125 inches cubed. And then you can kind of see why there's a 3 there, because it's 3. There's inches here, here, and here. So it's 125 cubic inches, or inches cubed. Great. Now, let's do letter B. And you've probably figured out, remember the volume equals, I'll just write this here, volume equals length times width times height, right? Usually they don't put an X there, it's just LWH. Okay, ready, go. Right, so you should have figured out that this is 4 times 10 is 40, right? And then 40 times 6 is, well, 4 times 6 is 24, so this must be 240 feet cubed. Now, to get you ready for the next problem, what if, instead of having this pretty picture here, I just said, find the volume of a shape that has a length of 4, a width of 10, and a height of 6. So you don't really need the picture. You just say, oh, 4 times 6 times 10, and get 240 that way. And that is precisely what we're going to do on letter C. So letter C says, find the volume of a container that measures 4 inches long, so I'm going to write a little 4 here, times, and 5 inches high, times 5, and the width is 8 times 8.5, 8 and 1/2. Got it? So you just do, you figure this out. Ready, go. All right, cool. So you know that 4 times 5 is 20. So now I have 20 times, and I could do 8.5, or I could do 8.5, whichever you think is easier. I'm going to do 8.5 because I like that better. And actually, here's what I'm going to do, and what I suggest you guys do too. I'm going to rewrite this, because whenever you have a number with a 0 at the end, I think it's easier to put that at the bottom. So I'm going to do 8.5 times 20. The 0 just goes here, and then I forget about the 0. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 8 is 16, plus 1 is 17. And there's 1 decimal place in the problem, so there's 1 decimal place in the answer. And so the answer is 170. So I'll come over here, and you should have 170. And this is what? Inches, right? Inches cubed. Awesome. All right, so now we're on page 742 in guided practice. 742, please go there if you're not there already. And then number 1 says a rectangular kitchen sink is 25.25 inches long, 19.75 inches wide, and 10 inches deep. So what do? You're just going to have to multiply all these numbers. And I'll let you do this. Go ahead and use a calculator if you want, because it's not the calculation that you have to learn. You already know how to do that. It is, that you know what to do. Though I'll remind you, when you get to something with fractions, calculators don't work so well. So try number 1. Ready, go. Okay, so hopefully you use the calculator, because this is a lot of calculating to do with here with these big numbers. So you should have got 4,986.875 inches cubed. Now, why do they give you such a big old problem like that? I don't know. They're just cruel. Speaking of cruel, let's try number 2, which really isn't as bad as you think. So this one is find the missing dimension. Notice that's really important. Find the missing dimension. So again, I'll write up here, volume equals length, I'll use a cursive L, times width times height. So here we have, they tell you the volume, so the volume is 126 equals, and they give you the width 7 7/8, 7 7/8 times, and the height is 2 times 2 times, and now what are we missing? The width, right, times W. So we're going to have to figure this out. Okay, can you figure it out? You're going to have to multiply these and then divide it into 126. Oh, this might be hard. Ready, go. Okay, so I just rewrote the problem on this paper just so we have more space to write. So there's different ways we can do this. We can convert this to a decimal first and then multiply, but just to try it, let's do keeping it a fraction. So 7 7/8 times 2, well, we know that 2 times 7 is 14. 2 times 7/8, well, 2 times 7 is 14, and the 8 just stays the 8, so it's 14 14/8. But this is improper, right? So how many times does 8 go into 14? 8 goes into 14 1 with what left over? With 6/8 left over. So you have 14 plus 1 6/8, which is the same as 15 6/8. If you were to reduce 15 6/8, you can divide both sides by 2, and that becomes a 3, and that becomes a 4, which means it's 15 3/4. So, wow, all of this, I'll move this up a little bit, all of this 7 7/8 times 2 is 15 3/4 times W. Now you have 126 equals 15 3/4 W. So how do we get the W by itself? We have to divide both sides by 15 3/4. At this point, it probably is easier to convert this to a decimal. Hopefully you can do that in your head. So we know that 3/4 is the same as 0.75. So 15 3/4 is the same as 15.75 W. 126 equals. So now, what is 126 divided by 15.75? So just to make our lives easier, let's just do it on the calculator. 126 divided by 15.75 equals, oh my gosh, such a simple answer, 8. So now I'd write 8 equals W. And actually that's our answer, W equals 8. So the missing, when we come look at, oh gosh, I lost it. Yeah, when we look at the missing answer here, the width is going to be 8. So it would be 8 centimeters. That was a hard one. Okay. All right, so for your homework, it is independent practice, page 743, and you only have to do 1 through 7. And I'll give you a hint for these. It'll probably make your life easier if you convert all the fractions to decimals. And just I'll give you a quick reminder, if you forgot how to do it, if you want to convert, for instance, 12 3/8 to a decimal, you just do 3 divided by 8, and you'll have the decimal. So 12 3/8, if I did 3 divided by 8, that's 0.375. And don't forget you have to have the 12 there. So that would be 12.375 times 10 times 5. Got it? You can do that for all of the ones that have fractions, and it'll make your life a little bit easier because then you can use a calculator. All right. And if you don't have a calculator, remember your Chromebook is a calculator too. You have one on there. Okay, page 743, numbers 1 through 7. The quiz for this chapter, I will, again, only take questions that you've had as homework and that we will go over. So make sure you do these. And last time I got some questions from students. They emailed me about help with some of the homework, and I emailed them back immediately, and I gave them some good help. So that's all. 743, 1 through 7. Have a wonderful mathematical day.